Dear Venerable Brothers, Dhamma friends, we are going to start the fourth Dhamma sermon. May you give your consent by saying Sadhu Sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Yavadeva bhikkhave bahula manuitakketi anuvicareti tatha tatha nati hoti cetasoti ti. Dear Venerable Brothers, Dhamma friends, we were discussing about thoughts, thinking, and how they are being generated, and in a way, what is the danger in too much thinking, overthinking, conceptual proliferation. So some amount of understanding now we have about even the thought generation. What are the specific reasons, what are the tendencies our mind carries about thinking. Now let's get into the other side now. So by understanding the danger of unwholesome thoughts and certain overthinking, obsessive thinking, it's quite necessary for us to in a way stop overthinking, to abandon obsessions. So what are the methods available? So basically we need to understand the wholesome thoughts and the unwholesome thoughts. We discuss to some extent in our Dhamma discussion also the wholesome thoughts and the unwholesome thoughts. So wholesome and unwholesome. Now this is a very basic teaching that we all need to be clear of, that even Samadhitti, Venerable Sariputta mentioned that understanding wholesome and understanding unwholesome, understanding the roots of wholesome and understanding the roots of unwholesome is essential, and that is very much like our foundation. And there are various wholesome activities and there are various unwholesome activities, and all those activities can be divided into three based on the bodily activities, verbal activities and the mental activities. And the unwholesome bodily activities, we all are familiar with these things. I am just mentioning for the completion. Now unwholesome bodily activities, killing animals, killing beings is unwholesome. Stealing is unwholesome. Sexual misconduct, unwholesome. Now these three are bodily wrong activities. And then lying, then divisive speech, harsh speech and gossiping. Now these are the four unwholesome verbal activities. And then there are three unwholesome mental activities: the covetousness, ill will, and then the wrong view. Now these are called the unwholesome bodily, verbal and the mental activities. Now what are the roots for those unwholesome activities? Then Venerable Sariputta explains they are the lobha, dosa, moha, greed, hatred and delusion. Now the opposite is also there, that is abstaining from killing, abstaining from stealing, abstaining from sexual misconduct. Those comes under the wholesome bodily activities. And then abstaining from lying, then gossiping, and then harsh speech, divisive speech. Abstaining side is becoming the wholesome side. And then abstaining from covetousness, abstaining from ill will and abstaining from wrong view, so that those become again the wholesome mental activities. Now what are the roots for wholesome activities? Then it is called alobha, adosa, amoha. We can say non-greed, non-hatred, non-delusion. So this is a very basic understanding we need to have. So first of all we need to know what is wholesome, what is unwholesome. And whenever these wholesome and unwholesome knowledge, some sort of understanding is there in our mind, then we can start the practice. So therefore we can say the Samadhitti is quite important, and this level is very much like the fundamental level, and sometimes Buddha call it as the Kammasakata Samadhitti, based on the Kamma. Accepting that there's a kind of a responsibility is there. So we are still talking at the individual level, at the mundane level, Samadhitti. That is still sasava punya bhagya upadivepakka. There is a certain amount of fetters involved with, because there is a person still, personality view may be there, but still it is into the wholesome side, and again it will lead to good results in case if we are able to establish ourselves in the wholesome side, abandoning the unwholesome side. Now Buddha explained how before he become enlightened, he did it. In the Dvedavitaka Sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya, he give a detailed explanation. Monks, before I became the fully enlightened Buddha, I did this kind of a categorization. I understood there are wholesome thoughts, I understood there are unwholesome thoughts. So whenever these thoughts coming to my mind, I categorize them. This is a wholesome thought. This is an unwholesome thought. This is a wholesome thought. This is an unwholesome thought. So I did this categorization. Didhakattva vitakkam vihareyanti. So this is a determination he had. So unwholesome thoughts whenever coming. It could be kama vitakka, sensuality related thought, maybe kind of a lustful thought, maybe a sensuality, desire, sensual desire related thoughts, or maybe ill will, vyapada vitakka, or vihinsa vitakka, some sort of a harm related thought, harming oneself, harming another person, harmful type of thoughts. Now whenever those come to his mind, he says, so I understood that. And not only that, I understood their danger. Atta vyabdayapi sangvattati. So whenever these harmful, rather unwholesome thought arise in my mind, I understood that it can lead to my own affliction. It can lead to my, say, own kind of a downfall, affliction. Further, para vyadayapi sangvattati. It can even cause someone else's affliction. So if I am being driven by these unwholesome thoughts, I might even harm another person. I can kill an animal, for example. I have a thought of ill will, and there is in front of me, there is a person, there is an animal. So driven by that thought of ill will, I might kill. Then I will get into this unwholesome act. It's harmful to another person. So I understood the danger. Para vyadayapi sangvattati. Then ubaya vyadayapi sangvattati. So it has a certain impact on me as well. So that means whatever unwholesome activity has a great impact not only to me but even to the others. So both sides are going to suffer, both sides going to be afflicted. So I was reflecting this danger. And not only that, panya nirodhiko, basically it obstructs wisdom. In my mind now I am trying to develop the wisdom, but this kind of a behavior may obstruct the development of wisdom. So I might feel depressed, I might feel really angry, my mind become really heavy, crowded, burning. So it's when it is there, it's difficult to develop wisdom. So I understood. It's going against the development of the wisdom. Panya nirodhiko. And vigahata pakkiko. And it basically further develops some kind of a suffering in my mind. So I am feeling burning when I am going through some unwholesome thought. Anibbana sangvattiniko. I am going away from nibbana. Instead of calming down, relaxing and taking it to a peaceful state, so whenever these unwholesome thoughts are going through in the mind, it causes to go away from nibbana. So I understood this nature. So the beauty is that when I am reflecting like this, reflecting these dangers, so all these different kinds of unwholesome thoughts starts disappearing. I am not promoting them. I understand their repercussions, consequences. As a result of that, they start fading away. So Buddha explaining this after he became enlightened, how he was practicing as a bodhisattva. And now, on the other hand, there are wholesome thoughts now arising in his mind. Renunciative thoughts, nekkhamma vitakka. Then thoughts of loving kindness, avyapada vitakka. Then avihinsa vitakka, maybe non-harming, instead we helping another person, sympathetic kind of thoughts. So they are arising. So then I understood they are not harmful to me, they are not harmful to another person, it is not harmful to any side. And even if I am thinking about them, there is no that sort of a harm as such. So now, as a result of that, now my mind often think about wholesome thoughts. Now he give a very interesting philosophic, or rather we can say psychological theory here. He mentioned, Yanya deva bhikkhave bhikkhu bahula manu itakketi anu vichareti tata tata nati hoti chetaso. Now whenever I am thinking too much of renunciative thoughts, so my mind has an inclination towards thinking renunciative thoughts. It doesn't want to think about the sensuality related thoughts. Kama vitakkas are abandoned. Now I have a tendency in my mind that is being highlighted, that is being promoted, to think about the renunciative thoughts. Further, say, now I am thinking thoughts of loving kindness, I am promoting that. Now there's a tendency towards that. There's an inclination in the mind towards thinking loving kindness thought instead of thoughts of ill will. Again, when I am having certain sympathetic kind of thoughts, non-harmful thoughts, now there's a tendency now being developed in the mind. It's inclined towards thinking this non-harmful, helpful type of thoughts. So there's a kind of a property in our mind. So whenever we are thinking in a particular stream, if it is wholesome, then our mind also get addicted in a way to think in that line, get inclined towards thinking in that line. Opposite is also there. So assume that instead of renunciative thoughts, you start thinking about sensuality, you start thinking about various lustful thoughts. Then often it thinks about lustful thoughts. Often lust will be pervaded in your mind. Similarly, if you are promoting thoughts of ill will, not the loving kindness, now thoughts of ill will become more prominent in the mind. Often it thinks about thoughts of ill will. It inclines towards ill will now. Similarly, if we are thinking certain harmful thoughts again and again onto a particular person, so then again and again, mind itself may take that thought. So this is a kind of a property in our mind. So whatever we are habituating our mind, it will incline towards that side. Then without even our initiation, it starts thinking that. Assume that you are having kind of a relaxed time. So what is the thing it is taking? So what we have familiarized, what we have habituated, what we have quite often thought about, so that is the one occupying the mind. So it's a kind of a property now Buddha is telling. Yanya deva bhikkave bhikkhu bahula manu vitakketi, that means frequently thinks, anu vichareti, frequently ponders, tata tata nati hoti chetaso. To that direction, the mind get inclined. Now here we need to be careful in that sense. So by knowing this fact, then we should know to which direction now I am inclining my mind, habituating my mind. So purposely we can think in that sense some wholesome thoughts, then my mind get inclined towards that. So you can see the benefit of Buddha-anusati. You can see the benefit of loving kindness or any other kind of anusati bhavana. The purpose is this. So whenever we are discussing or rather reflecting about the Buddha's qualities, so our mind get inclined towards that. Okay, I'm thinking about the Buddha's good qualities. I also like that. I also like to develop those good qualities. So there's a very good purpose in that. Say you are developing loving kindness meditation. So instead of anger, now we are developing loving kindness meditation. So these are the thoughts we continuously, frequently occupy the mind. Now mind often inclined towards thinking in loving kindness, in that angle, in that direction. So therefore, to overcome different unwholesome thoughts, purposely thinking wholesome thoughts is one interesting technique. So this is what we do in the Anusati Bhavana. Different Anusati Bhavana are there, particularly based on certain reflection. It may be based on the Buddha's qualities, maybe about the Dhamma, about the Sangha, about the Devas and their good qualities, and maybe about the offerings, the dana, generosity, thinking about the good benefits of generosity, then you become more generous. Or maybe about arising kind of a virya, the effort. So many different good directions now we can introduce to the mind. Accordingly, mind get inclined towards that good direction, wholesome direction. Now that we all understood, assume now less unwholesome thoughts but more wholesome thoughts, more wholesome thinking, and we were able to somewhat manage our mind. Now it's in a somewhat thinking in the wholesome line. Now Buddha gives another level. He is introducing another level. Anuvitakkeyang, anuvichareyyang, neva tato nidanang, bhayang samanupassami. Now whenever my mind thinking about the wholesome side, I didn't see any danger in the mind because they are wholesome. Now mind has come to the wholesome side. I have become a good person in a way. So if you are often thinking about the good thoughts, so that will help you to have good actions, maybe bodily actions, and how you are talking, the verbal actions. Because thinking is in a way the forerunner when we are conducting some bodily activity and talking. And when we are governed by often with the wholesome thoughts, then we may be doing often the wholesome bodily deeds, verbal deeds. But apichako me atichirang anuvitakketo, anuvichareyato, kayo kilameya. Now when I am purposely thinking wholesome thoughts, what happens? I feel little tired. My body feels tired. And when the body becomes tired, kayo kilante chittang uhanyaya. The mind becomes strained. Mind feel again tired also. So the body also feel tired because I am purposely thinking wholesome thoughts. As a result of that, the mind also feel kind of a strained. Uhate chitte ara chittang samadimhati. Now when I am often thinking even the wholesome thoughts, so as a result of that, the body become tired and the mind also become strained. So I am going away from the samadhi, by the way. Thinking is not taking me to the samadhi. Now what I need to do? In order to further refine the mind, in order to attain the concentration, now I have to abandon even the wholesome thinking. So what I did, ajjattameva chittang santapemi, sannisademi, ekodin karomi, samadhami. So then what I did, I abandoned thinking and internally kept my attention, steadied my attention, and quieted the mind, and basically given a particular object, I have very much like concentrated my mind there, and there the mind become very much like singled. So it's become that. So that's what we do in, say, for example, in Metta Bhavana, at the beginning, for example, we may be using certain phrases. May you be well, may you be happy, may you be free from suffering, may you be happy, may you be free from suffering. So we are using these different phrases to occupy the mind again and again so that it will be abandoned, all the other unwholesome thoughts are abandoned. Now the mind is completely filled with loving kindness. Now if you want to further concentrate, what you need to do? Now you need to stop that phrase. Instead that now you need to take a kind of a single sign of that metta. So typically what we do is maybe we are thinking about a particular person, maybe our teacher, and in front of me that we are wishing him good, we are wishing him well, free from suffering again and again. He become very pleasant, and we also, our mind also become very pleasant. And more we develop metta. Now the loving kindness quality become more prominent in our heart. And now even if we stop this phrase, still the loving kindness quality is there. And now we pick a sign from that person who is in front, and we use that sign as a concentration sign. So subtle in a way. So that is the what we are using to attain jhana. If you want to attain jhana, through metta. Not through the words, not through the phrase, but using the sign that we have picked from the person that to whom that we are, say, spreading metta. Say if you want to further concentrate through the Buddhanusati, say we are using the 9 qualities, Arahang, Samma Sambuddho, Vijjacana Sampanno, likewise 9 qualities we are using. Now if you want to further concentrate, so we have to reduce the number. So instead of taking 9 qualities, say we are taking 8 qualities. Instead of 8 qualities, we are taking 7. Instead of 7, we are taking 5. Instead of 5, we are taking 3. Instead of 3, we are taking 1. So mind becomes more subtler, calmer, relaxed, concentrated on one quality. So this is a technique in a way. Now not many qualities, not many thinking, but just one quality we are using. And that also just time to time we are reminding in case mind get distracted. Otherwise mind is concentrated on that selected quality, the prominent quality which is more felt by our heart. That is what we are using to concentrate the mind. And now it is quiet, very pleasant, very still, mind become concentrated. So thinking almost stopped now, no thinking. So these are techniques. We need to understand, okay, all these different samatha techniques are quite useful to stop unwholesome thoughts and calm down the mind, and even to stop thinking. Now no thinking but completely calm, relaxed, concentrated. Now these are in a way related to meditation as well, in samatha meditation. And on the other hand, as a basic understanding also we can understand, okay, unwholesome thoughts are never going to take me to a good kind of experience. Rather the wholesome side may be useful. I am using that. And later I am keeping thinking minimal. Instead I am using even a subtle sensation, maybe a subtle image, just to further get concentrated. Mind is calm, relaxed, no thinking, internally quieted, internally relaxed, peaceful. Now this is one area. And then Buddha further discuss about abandoning thoughts when you recognize certain kind of a thinking going on in your mind. The Vitakka Santana Sutta is another very good area explaining 5 methods to overcome unwholesome, obsessive kind of thinking. So there, by the way, you need some sort of a awareness about your mind. You need to look at your mind. And there you understood, okay, certain unnecessary thinking going on. It is harmful. Again and again it's thinking. Again and again overthinking. So it's harmful. Now the first method Buddha say, okay, you apply completely opposite kind of thinking purposely. These are the things that these things maybe we already know. Say now assume that you are thinking about some harmful thoughts of someone, thoughts of ill will about someone. Now you understood, okay, I am feeling burning, I am feeling tired, I am feeling angry, I am feeling resentment towards this person. It is not good for me. So what am I going to do now? I am purposely converting it to metta, loving kindness. So one possibility is, if he was helpful maybe some time back, probably I can remember how he was helpful to me. Or else I am purposely taking it to someone else whom I love, whom I appreciate. I am thinking about him instead of this person. So when I am purposely thinking, diverting to this new person, to this new object, so I am still purposely thinking about him, but into the loving kindness side. So the thoughts of anger, thoughts of ill will be abandoned as a result of this kind of a replacement. So this is called a kind of a replacement technique. Anya vitakka. So Buddha is giving a kind of a simile here, and he says, assume that there's a carpenter and he has mistakenly put a nail, kind of a peg, and he is using a smaller nail to take it out. So similarly Buddha say, okay, you understood certain unwholesome, harmful thinking going on. Now you want to abandon it. What you do is you are using a different kind of thinking to replace it. Still using thinking, by the way. You are using wholesome thinking to abandon unwholesome thinking. So that's why we even do, say, asubha bhavana. Say you have a lot of these lustful thoughts in the mind. And you understood again and again going to lustful thoughts. Again and again going to lustful thoughts, burning with lust. So immediately if we try anapanasati, sometimes it might fail. So now one possibility is to practice unwholesomeness, unloathsomeness of the loathsomeness of the body. So maybe your body, someone else's body, it's loathsome. It's not attractive. Different body parts are there. None of them are attractive. Instead, they are loathsome. So you are purposely recognizing the loathsomeness of the bodily parts. So when you are thinking like that, purposely, what happened to lust? The lust will be naturally abandoned. So this is a technique we are using. So that's why the purpose of Asubha Bhavana. So if you know Kesa, Loma, Naka, Danta, likewise you contemplate going through your body, scanning the body, various bodily parts, but giving some prominence to the loathsomeness, unattractive quality of each and every part. None of them are beautiful. They are really ugly, and you have taken out the skin. So each and every body part, none of them are attractive. You purposely look its loathsomeness, ugly side, unattractive side. So the lust will be abandoned. So this is one method Buddha recommends. And then he say about the danger. Assume that this method didn't work. So you tried it, but it didn't work. Now Buddha say, okay, now you try recognizing the adinava, the danger. What we already discussed in the Dahavitaka Sutta. So if you understand, okay, when I was thinking like this, last time I went and shouted him. So assume that now you are going through some anger. You try to replace it through metta, but didn't work. But now you are remembering what happened last time when you become angry. Probably you had an argument, you have to shout, and then the other person also reacted. You had a fight, and it was really unpleasant. Maybe you were crying, or maybe going through some sort of unpleasant experience. So all that you remember what has happened last time or another occasion, and you remember what are the dangers if I am continuing this way of thinking again. So this is causing you to sort of having a warning to you, precaution to your mind. Okay, this is what going to happen again. Am I going to be fooled again? Now you are kind of remembering the past situation and helping yourself to overcome the arising anger. It's called adinava, the recognizing the anger. And Buddha giving a kind of an example also. Suppose there's a boy, there's a girl who is like to stay beautifully with a handsome way, with a lot of cleanliness, but someone simply take a carcass of a snake and putting on his head. Now he's completely, quickly want to take it out. So like that Buddha say, when you understand, okay, these thoughts are not good for me, they are really harmful. Last time also when I was going through that, I become really vulnerable. So this time also the same thing going to happen. I want to take it out. So when you feel ashamed of that, having those kind of thoughts, then these thoughts become slowly weakened and taken out. So this is the second method Buddha mentioned. Then the third method, assume this even didn't work. Then Buddha say, try to forget it. And look something else. So basically, asati amanisikara basically means you become unmindful about it. So there are certain thoughts there, but you feel, okay, I am paying attention, then they are growing. How about not paying attention at all? I feel like blind. I am trying to become blind to them, very much like. And same simile that he is giving. So assume that someone is coming face to face when you are walking, but that person you don't like. So you simply take your head other side. You turn your head other side. You don't want to see him. Likewise, certain thoughts are there, but you don't want to pay attention. You are not purposely paying attention to them. You are forgetting them. Asati amanisikar. Because if we pay attention only, they become prominent. Now I am not paying attention. There's another technique Buddha recommends to try to overcome thinking, overcome these, say, unwholesome thoughts. And assume that even that didn't work. And then Buddha give another technique. And he is asking to see, now currently there is a thought. Currently there are thoughts going on. What was its previous stage? before this thought, what was the previous thought? And kind of a tracing back to the roots, to the previous stage. So in a way, it's a Yoniso Manasikara related technique, and you need some amount of a mindfulness to do this. And you are purposely trying to recognize the previous stage of the thinking. Currently there is a kind of a thinking going on, but you are not interested of the current state. Rather, you are purposely interested of the previous state. Assume that you are able to recognize the previous couple of thoughts, or these thoughts were made by this thought. I was thinking about him. Before I was thinking him, now I was thinking that. Like that, you are a little analyzing towards the back. And once you are able to trace that, now Buddha does not stop there, and you want to think the previous stage. Going backward, previous stage. So when you are doing like that, what happened? The present stage become weaker and weaker because we are not supporting it. Because in order to go for the next stage, we need to support the present stage. Currently there are certain thoughts available, and I need to support the present stage, then only I will be getting to another stage. What I do is the opposite now. Instead of supporting present stage, I am trying to trace out the previous stage. I am going to trace out the previous stage. I am going to trace out the previous stage. So I am doing Yoniso Manasikara now. It completely abandoned the thinking. Might be even able to stop the whole thinking. Because we are completely using the Yoniso Manasikara, going root to the root. And the presently available thoughts become helpless, no support, and weaken, abandoned. That's another method Buddha recommends. Even if it doesn't work, what am I going to do? Then he recommends to use the willpower. Like a strong person controlling a weaker person, now you need to use a willpower. Okay, you clench your teeth, stop yourself. That's another method he's saying. So these are various techniques probably we can try to use whenever thinking is going on, because yet the mindfulness is not strong enough. So now we can discuss the mindfulness techniques. So these are all actually the mind related but thinking related techniques. So we are using thinking as an anecdote to thinking. Unwholesome thoughts are there, we are using wholesome thoughts. Or we are using the different contemplation. So still thinking related thoughts. And there are mindfulness techniques as well. Those are quite prominent and in a way verifiable. Say for example, some thinking is going on, obsessive thinking is going on. Say you are going to the walking path. And simply start walking. And you feel your foot touching the ground. It's a prominent touch. Say you are going to the sand path and it's prominent. You can feel your foot touching the ground. It's a strong sensation. And now what we do, that sensation become a kind of a object of attention. Instead of paying attention to thinking, promoting thinking, I am purposely diverting my attention to the foot. Hardness is there. I am using that hardness to, kind of interrupt the thinking process. So after that, again assume that the mind distract. Again went to thinking. Can't help. But after a moment, next foot also touching the ground. Because I am walking. The touching of the foot is prominent. I can feel it. The body feels it. So that is a reminder again to the mind, okay, come here, stay here, be here. Not thinking, but be here, onto the body touch. So this is a kind of an interruption that we do to the thinking process, the story going on in the mind. Time to time we are interrupting as much as possible to this thinking process. Suppose previously we were giving some support to the thinking process and we were giving the full support. That's why it has gone to the proliferation level. But now what happened? I am interrupting that proliferation process. Instead of promoting that, time to time at least I am coming here to the present moment. Now purposely when I am doing that, number of interrupts become many. right? So the purposeful bodily attention becomes stronger. That storytelling, fantasizing, proliferation become weaker. Because my support for proliferation become weaker because I am interrupting that. Instead, I am purposely taking my attention to the body. Body awareness, body touch. That is where I am trying to pay my attention. Now, when I am doing that, say slowly, my side starts winning. So your body part, the body attention start winning. It becomes stronger. Body awareness becomes stronger and stronger instead of the thinking. And there may be a possibility that you have 50-50. To your body awareness, the 50% you are paying attention, and that also unknowingly maybe you are giving some support to the thinking process as well. Now you have a kind of a choice to where am I going to support. Now say if you want to stop thinking, further weaken it, you are further supporting the walking path, the body awareness. So it then becomes 60, 70, 90, ultimately no way to go through the thinking because no support coming from you. We are the support, we are the ones supporting the thinking process. So remember, it has a kind of a theory. So without our support, maybe coming through our delusion, our ignorance, thinking alone can't go a long distance. So our support is a must. But now what we do, purposely we are paying some present moment activity happening in the body. It is being used to overcome obsessive thinking. I mean, not only walking, maybe even you can use purposely to some daily activity. So that's why, I mean, if you understood, okay, I have a habit of too much thinking. I'm addicted to too much thinking. I need to stop it now. So that's why we are purposely paying attention to some daily activity. Say while washing dishes, okay, be aware of that. Say while brushing your teeth, be aware of that. So we are using it as a simple technique to minimize thinking, because otherwise mind will get into its own, old type of habit. So instead of promoting that old type of habit, I am purposely paying attention to the simple activity my body is engaged with purposely. So thinking is not promoted. I am not being involved. I am not interested of thinking. Rather, I am interested of doing this bodily activity. I am giving prominence to that purposely. We are not enlightened there. I mean, we can't say, so it's a really technique to get enlightened, but it has a purpose. We have to start with somewhere. So actually, that's why some people are actually criticizing these simple techniques. Telling, I mean, when you are doing this, when you are eating, are you thinking of eating or are you thinking of something else? The body may be eating, but the mind may be thinking something else. Body may be eating, but you are watching a movie. So we are not in the present moment. So here we are trying to develop mindfulness using certain body awareness, establishing mindfulness in the bodily activity, so that the thinking process is not promoted. Instead, kind of body awareness is enhanced, highlighted. And there's a good purpose. And sometimes even people use even not in there. Maybe little tiresome. Sometimes say you are eating, drinking. Little tiresome, by the way. That also sometimes people purposely use because they understood. I mean, that may be tiresome, but promoting thinking is more tiresome. So they understood the opportunity and they purposely say, okay, I'm instead of promoting the thinking, okay, here maybe eating, lifting, moving, whatever it is. So noting can be used. So the purpose is there. But suppose now you are in the walking path and you are able to pay attention to each and every step. Mind also become fairly tamed, less distractions. Now again and again using left, right or lifting, placing. Now you feel that is also a burden. Right? So now mind has become more refined, more cleansed, very quiet. So again and again telling rising, lifting, it's a burden. So what shall we do? We can stop it now. We can neglect it. No need it. Its purpose is done. It's a kind of a gradual technique. Now, instead of using the noting, quietly you are paying attention to the lifting process, moving process, placing process. So you are capable of doing that because mind is quiet now. Mind is not thinking, but complete attention is there for the bodily process, bodily activity. So gradually we have to reach there, not immediately. So these are practical techniques actually we are talking in the mindfulness side. So it has a purpose, some practical values there. So once you reach that stage, so it's quite obvious, no need of noting. I can maintain my attention quietly with the bodily process. Say you are practicing Anapanasati. Now Anapanasati is another very good technique to overcome thinking. It's particularly recommended for speculative characters. And the beauty of Anapanasati is that we don't need to walk, and because body naturally breathe. And you can sit quiet as much as possible. And now we are lifting quiet and keeping the body straight and trying to keep our attention on the breathing. They are also not purposeful or forceful breathing. We have to allow natural breathing. And sometimes people can't do it immediately because they don't know how to breathe when they start mindfulness of breathing. So far they were able to breathe well. But when they start practicing Anapanasati, they get confused how to breathe. So it becomes maybe forceful and it becomes strenuous and you can't, fall asleep well because things become more, forceful. Probably you have to practice something else then. Maybe Buddhanusati a little bit or body scanning a little bit. Forget about breathing. Okay, let me do some body scanning. So while body scanning is done from top to bottom, you are recognizing various sensations or various body parts. So recognizing. So body scanning is another technique. So immediately rather than jump into Anapanasati, probably we can do a body scanning. Maybe recognizing different body parts. What we do is that typically, say, when mind is allowed to wander in a large area, so it becomes more prone to distraction, more prone to proliferation. Now I am confining my attention only to the body area. It has less information, or rather we can say less area to go through. I am purposely restricting my attention to the body parts. Head hair, okay, you are paying attention to head hair. Body hair, you are paying attention to body hair, but not thinking about the loathsomeness. Here we are thinking about the body part. Where is it located? Maybe its color, something. Just to occupy the mind, just to restrain the mind to a limited area of attention. Now this is a kind of a practical technique again. Now say for example, you are able to catch a wild horse. So if you are quickly taking it and binding it to a pole strongly, it might even die because it needs some place to run around. So what you do is you have a large garden with a strong fence. So you allow it to run through in that large garden. But it can't go to the forest again, by the way. But it is limited to that garden. Right? So then you may be trying to tame it using a rope, maybe a whip or whatever. Again, slowly, right? Giving some food and again limiting it, and maybe you are putting a rope and running through it, maybe using another horse, a tamed horse, and putting a rope to the other wild horse and you are running with it. So kind of tactfully, you are now trying to slowly tame the horse. Similarly, here also, our mind also, we have to tame in a systematic manner. We can't immediately jump quickly, bind it to something. Rather, we are using body scanning. Okay, now it is restricted to the body, limited to the body. And once it is limited to the body, maybe now I can select maybe rising and falling because it may be more prominent, easily understood. So you are paying attention to rising and falling. That's also not purposely that you are, making a rising or making a falling, but Naturally, it is there, it is available, and you are simply paying attention like an outsider. Now, probably we can try breathing. You are paying attention, keeping attention at the nostril, and we can feel breathing. We can feel in breath, we can feel out breath. And there also probably you can use further techniques like noting. When you feel in breath, you can call it as in breath, name it as in breath, note it as in breath. When out breath happens, you can name it as out breath. This is another technique, to name it, to label it, to note it. Because then you feel more prominent, you are there. Purposely you are there. There's a bodily activity, and purposely you pay attention to that bodily activity, and even you name it. This is in breath. Because then less confusion, and you are more certain about it. I am not experiencing out breath, I am currently experiencing in breath. I am sure about it. This is in breath. You are sure about it. So likewise, we are developing certain confidence in the mind again and again to purposely paying attention to in breath, purposely paying attention to out breath. Now, this process happens in the present moment. But mind is not interested, because it may prefer to go to the past, it may prefer to go to the future, imagining, daydreaming, fantasizing. That is its addiction, that is its preference. But purposely, again we bring it back to the breath. Again we bring it back. So it's a kind of a walk at the beginning, because it is not used to. Again and again it get distracted, but I am again and again bring it back. The beauty is, as we continue, you may understand the distracted time period become less and less, and your staying with the breath become longer and longer. Previously, say you were able to spend time with 5 breaths. Now you can spend with 10 breaths. Now you can spend with 25 breaths. Now you can spend time with 50 breaths continuously. Now what happened? Not only mindfulness, now you have a certain amount of concentration. That's another quality now we are adding to the picture. Purposely we have developed mindfulness, but as a result of the development of mindfulness, it is getting to another quality where mind get concentrated now. It doesn't want to go now. It doesn't want to get distracted. Now it's very much like a pendulum. When it is losing its energy, it is now slowly becomes still. So likewise, when we are purposely paying attention to breathing, breathing has another additional kind of advantage. Naturally, breathing calms down, relax, subtle, and mind also, which is associating mind. I mean, the breathing process being associated by the mind, that also calms down. That also become very refined, very subtle. So then mind also calm, breath also calm, body also calm. So body also very relaxed, mind also very relaxed. No thinking. Again thinking has stopped. Rising and falling similar. Say you are paying again and again attention to rising and falling, and your mindfulness is established in rising and falling, and no thinking now. Maybe certain thinking going on in the background, but more prominence is given to rising and falling, and you very well aware of this rising and falling process. Maybe you are very well aware of this breathing process. And interestingly, when the breathing process becomes subtler and subtler, and it is even producing some kind of a joy, that's another side now. Now we have mindfulness, now we have concentration, and now we have even some joy. Because ill will is abandoned, restlessness abandoned, body also become comfortable, mind also feel lighter, and you feel happy now. Now here actually we are strengthening 5 faculties. We can say 5 jhana factors first. Till we have sloth and torpor, we can't continue this practice because we become lethargic, we become drowsy, and we fall asleep. So we need kind of a continuous process, a kind of a quick process in a way. Quickly we need to pay attention. So say, for example, you are walking and quickly assume that you are walking, and each and every step you have to quickly pay attention, because the body is walking, it's not stopped. Say breathing happens, and when in-breath is done, you need to pay attention to the out-breath. When it is done, you need to pay attention to the in-breath. So the vitakka, paying attention, applying the mind. So this become more prominent, so that the mind can't become lethargic. So the laziness is abandoned. Srota and torpor is abandoned. On the other hand, when you know exactly, this is in-breath, not out-breath, I am very sure about it. There is no way to doubt it. No vichikicha. So you are very sure in the present moment, I am experiencing in-breath, not the out-breath. I am very sure about it. So when you are sure, when you are confident, you can't have vichikicha, you can't have doubt. You are not in perplexity. Rather, you are very sure, this is in-breath. So the vichikicha is abandoned. When you have vichara, when you are sure about the object. And then when the kind of pleasantness, happiness, joy is there, so that environment can't have ill will, anger. So the vyapada, what you call the hindrance, is abandoned. Ill will is abandoned. And once you feel the body comfortable and the mind comfortable, contented, joyful, happy, so the kind of a pleasant abiding is there in the body and the mind, is kind of pleasant abiding. So why should I get distracted? So the mind finds happiness here, inside. So when the body and the mind become happy, joyful, comfortable, then the ability to distract, the restlessness, regrets become less and less. What we call the uddacha kukkucha, nivarana, the hindrance of restlessness and regret is abandoned, because there's internal happiness available now. Internal joy available now. So mind has happiness here, inside. It was looking for happiness outside, but now happiness available inside. Joy available inside. So it is now remaining inside because happy, joyful. It likes joy. Our mind has that tendency. So when something is joyful, it likes to be there. So mind becomes joyful. It is there. And when it is there, no distractions, that is automatically, it is concentrated. Ekaggata is there. Now it is completely opposite to kamachanda. So till we have kamachanda, the sensual desire, mind jumps from one object to the other object. Doesn't being able to stay quiet at one pointed. But as a result of the practice, the samadhi practice, concentration practice, now it is become one pointed. Doesn't want to get distracted. Kamachanda also abandoned. Sensual desire also abandoned. All the five hindrances are abandoned. Mind get concentrated. So this is the way actually we need to properly practice. It is not that particularly or merely using the effort, but we should know what are the conducive causes to produce the mind to get concentrated. So when all these facilities are available, so the mind naturally get concentrated. So Buddha say, Sukhino Chittan Samadhyati. Say when the mind and the body become comfortable, quite happy, joyful, mind get concentrated. It's a natural effect. So now no wavering, no distractions, mind is concentrated and mind is quiet. With an object, by the way. With the object. Say we used Anapanasati, in-breath, out-breath, in-breath, out-breath. Now breathing become fairly subtle. And the subtle breathing becomes our object, and we can simply keep the mind quiet there, no thinking at all. Thinking has stopped. And there actually, if we practice like this, you may understand in between, so thoughts are merely thoughts. I don't need to support it, because breathing is there. I am purposely taken breathing as my object of attention. Again and again I am paying attention. I can simply discard thinking now. Previously we were thinking, okay, thinking is something important, thinking is mine, thoughts are mine, I should think. But now, no more. Thoughts are merely thoughts. I can simply ignore them. I can pay attention to breathing. So kind of a characteral change happens in ourselves. Our attitude completely changed. Previously we were giving a lot of attention to breathing, a lot of prominence to thinking. But now, as a result of the practice, we understand, okay, this thinking is something, when it is not necessary at all. When there is no purpose, no point of thinking at all. I can simply keep my mind quiet. So in the Vitakka Sutta, so this is the point actually Buddha takes us. He say, when a person is capable of thinking when he is necessary, when he was able to keep the mind quiet when thinking is not necessary, he has become a master of thinking. Master of thinking is not a person who thinks too much. Rather, he has the capacity to think when it is necessary. He has the ability to stop thinking when it is not necessary. Vasi vitakka pariyapatesu. Yang vitakkang akankissati, tang vitakkang vitakkessati. So, if we want to think on a particular subject, there's a purpose of thinking, then he thinks. Yang vitakkang nakankissati, na tang vitakkang vitakkessati. And he understood, okay, no point of thinking in this particular subject, okay, I'm not thinking. The thinking has become kind of under control. And the advantage is achijji tanhan, and he was able to cut off craving. Vavattai sangyojanang, he was able to flung off fetters. Samma mana bisamaya, and he was able to understand the conceit in its full different capacities. Antamakasi dukkhasa, and he can overcome all suffering. So it will take to higher level, and let's discuss about the vipassana techniques further so that we can get the support of the wisdom. And today we discuss particularly about the samatha aspects, including other, say, reflections. And with that note, I'll conclude today's Dhamma sermon. Thank you very much for attentive listening.